So, hello, I am super excited. This is the Romford Sessions, I think I'm going to be calling it. But we have teamed up. We are teaming up with a festival. This is really exciting. I'm brimming with joy on this one. So tonight I am joined with Mr. Spencer Hawken, the poster boy of the Romford Film Festival and the master of films, aka Kaleidoscope Man, aka Peter Blunden himself. How are you two guys tonight?
Hi.
Don't all jump in at once and start answering questions here.
I like to do that thing, like where you wait for the other person, because I obviously appreciate that I'm the most important person in the room. I always like to wait for the secondary person to speak first.
So, is everyone looking forward? Because we are a little bit late in getting this episode done. This is the inaugural episode of the Romford Film Festival. This is for the HORRHIFFIC Festival, which is coming this weekend. Spencer, you're going to have to talk me through that one. It does not roll off the tongue, my friend. And later on in the month, we have got the main festival, which we're going to be doing lots of coverage for as well. But we want to get this done for the weekend because we have the big inaugural horror festival. How are you guys looking forward to this, all the shenanigans coming this weekend?
Right, okay, so first of all, let me talk you through HORRHIFFIC. I need to come over here. I've got this bad candy poster here. Oh, look at that. You can see all this crap that I've left around here. That was covered by my back previously. So, Romford Independent Film Festival, we refer to as RIFF.
Mm-hmm.
What we decided to do, Romford Horror Independent Film Festival, chuck it in HORRHIFFIC, and you've got a tagline, but we are technically just Romford Film Festival, Romford Horror Festival. HORRHIFFIC is like our tagline. But then the idea being is each year we have like a variation of that. Terrific.
Nice.
And then that way you're kind of like you're branding it in a passage of time with a slightly different tagline.
You do realize though, if you just put terrific, it's just going to look like Terrific, the Terrific Film Festival.
Well, obviously.
And that was a nice.
That's what it is. So.
I don't understand what you're saying here.
And that was a nice little nod. I'm so glad you put Bad Candy in there because we will be joined by the directors of Bad Candy a little bit later on, which is going to be shown at the horror festival. How did you guys get on with this movie first? Because we're going to be talking to them later, so we'll do this now just in case they don't like what we say and they don't get to hear it.
No, so basically it's an anthology, isn't it? It's an anthology horror film. Yeah. I think there's is it 8 to 10 sort of mini stories, and it's kind of the framing device is there's a DJ and a producer on a radio show at Halloween in a small town, and they're the ones who are recalling these and retelling the stories from the local area of Halloween's past, basically, and all the horrific things. And there are some horrific things that happen to some of the people in the town over the years. So yeah, it's a fun film, definitely. Like the main word I would get from it is fun. There's always, as the nature of anthologies, there's always a varying sort of a theme, and if you don't like one of them, you'll like the next one. And yeah, there's some there's some good deaths. It's always good. There's some very good deaths, and yeah, there's something for everyone in this, really, definitely. And there's some sort of quite well-known people dotted about here and there in it.
What I really enjoyed about it is those opening 10 minutes.
Very strong, yeah.
Cinematic beauty. And it's like, and I don't want to downgrade the film, but it's almost like they threw the kitchen sink in that opening 10 minutes. And it's kind of hard to go back once you've already thrown everything into that 10 minutes. Such beautiful cinematography, staging, the little girl walking up to the treehouse, all those candles, and just beautiful. Like, it reminded me of a film from about 10 years ago called Trick or Treat.
Nice.
And that's how I felt. But at the same time, I'm also reminded of there was a film called The Christmas Horror Story with William Shatner around the same sort of time, and it had a similar feel to that.
Yeah, the opening bit is very sort of soundtrack and the sort of the glow, the cinematography, the glowing cinematography is very 80s, isn't it? Very 80s. Puts you in mind of stuff like It or Goonies, or and the fact that there's a small group of friends as well. Obviously, Stranger Things is a retro kind of callback to that, but yeah, all that kind of that theme going on.
So
let us not forget the sweets.
Yeah, never forget.
Now, obviously, don't want to spoil it for anyone, but let me just say, the man with the sweets is my kind of guy.
So before these guys come on, and we're going to talk a little bit more about the movie, I want to talk about the festival properly first. So, Spencer, can you give us a little rundown on sort of your background and how you came to be with this festival, as you are the poster man, as I say?
I kind of like to push that title off onto others wherever possible. Romford Film Festival is definitely very much my beast, and some people have come and joined me, and they're doing a lot of the tough stuff during the festival, and I'm doing a lot of the tough stuff on the build up. I think with HORRHIFFIC, I think this is something we've all, and you're included in that, Kevin, we've all created together. We have all equal standing in this scenario. And, next year, some of the stuff that happens pre-festival, I might be able to palm that off onto Peter or Bradley or Louise or whoever and build that. At the end of the day, this is a relationship that has 6 people in it. 6 people as the front line. And then, of course, you've got Billy, who he's going to be present without doubt during the first festival, but his film work is picking up quite a lot. I hope everyone that attends is going to have a really good time. We have picked a nice selection of brand new indie films and mixed it in with some classic indie and some blockbuster movies to kind of create a feel that doesn't necessarily happen in the smaller independent film festival world. It's not saying that we're trying to reinvent the wheel, but you generally tend to find that something is all new or all old. Kind of put those two things together, and hopefully provide hopefully we've created like a really nice environment for people to enjoy new and old, and to be able to provoke conversation, particularly when we play Manos on Saturday lunchtime. I mean, seriously, it's got one of the lowest ratings on IMDb. Let's just chuck that in there for shits and giggles.
Yeah, I had a look at this the other day. I think, is it less than 2? I think it's less than 2.
Yes, it's like 1.3 or 1.4.
Yeah.
But
I've not seen it myself. I'm looking forward to it.
It is it's so bad, and when I say that, I'm not talking Mother's Child World Cup heist bad. I'm talking so bad that it is actually good.
They are often the best ones.
This is just, to me, this is like The Room, and I think that as many festivals that can champion this atrocious film, better it will become. I particularly like the girl that has the 50-year-old's voice, and she's supposed to be like 8. And the guy that is the human version of Mr. Tumnus from The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe, who unfortunately, allegedly, died as a result of his performance in this film and injuries incurred. You can literally say someone gave blood for this film. In the most extreme sense. And I shouldn't downplay someone's death. I know it's not very nice, but it's just, people felt passionately about this film at that point in time, like any independent filmmaker does now. And they were prepared to do things that probably they shouldn't do in order to get the film done.
Peter, you and I and Spencer and some of the other people that Spencer mentioned before, Bradley and Louise, let's not talk about Shibble, but we all are part of this awesome panel that I just last year when COVID hit, I had nothing to do, and Spencer was awesome and kind of brought me in to watch all these films and sit and have chats, which I kind of thought, do I really want to be sitting on Zoom till 2 a.m. talking about these movies? But you know what? It was an absolute blast, and I loved it. So being part of this panel with you, for me, has been brilliant. But how did you come to be part of the festival, and what's kind of your background as the master of film?
Yeah, so I live in Romford, so I'm extremely local, and I've always had a great passion for films. That led me I chose to do a master's at Birkbeck in world cinema. So my sort of area that I enjoy the most and have studied is very sort of it's international film from all around the world, especially Japanese cinema. That's my big passion. That's what I did my dissertation on, stuff like that. So and for the last couple of years I've been working on different film festivals here and there, mainly in London, but all different ones around town, all different types of film festival. And I found out about Romford being right on the doorstep, and basically I approached Spencer and said, like, I've got certain qualifications in films, but most of all I'm passionate. I love films, love watching films, talking about them, all that kind of stuff. Do you need any kind of help at all? And I think it took him by surprise a bit. He didn't really know quite what to say, because I don't think he was inundated with offers of people approaching him to help, which I was very happy to do so. So as you say, Kevin, when we did the main festival last summer, obviously I think it was sort of March or February of last year onwards, we were watching the submissions and things for the main festival. And for me personally as well, it was a great distraction, if you like, from all the stuff that was going on in the world last spring. And it was a great opportunity to see some independent film and some really, really good submissions. And obviously we were lucky enough to hold the festival last year physically, back in, was it September time, wasn't it? Yeah, we even had some filmmakers who came as well. We did some interviews with them in the studio that we made. So that was really the 5-day festival last year was really, really good fun. As I say, watching all the submissions and meeting some of those filmmakers was a great distraction for me personally, and I think for all of us.
No, it definitely was. It definitely was. I had an absolute blast just jumping on Zoom and sitting talking about these things in the way, like, I love the fact that we all had very different opinions on certain movies, and but the best of it was, though, as well, like, there was a lot of respect on the chat as well. There was no real arguing. Yeah, okay, I've got an axe to grind when it comes to Shibble, but that's just me. But we all
feel wrong about that film, by the way.
And we will at some point be getting Bradley on the show, and Louise as well, and hopefully Billy at some point as well, and anyone else who works behind the scenes to talk about the festival and everything. But tonight we were here just to kind of talk about HORRHIFFIC. Over the time that you have been helping with the festival, Peter, what would you say is quite possibly the best thing you've watched come through this festival? Either the new horror festival or the main one?
Extraneous matter.
It's a big question. I was going to get onto that in a minute. Last year obviously we did have Shibble, which won multiple awards. So that was the big sort of winner last year of the main festival. In terms of the horror festival, as Spencer said, Extraneous Matter is one of my favourite shorts from this year. I don't want to give too much away, but it's a Japanese film about a neglected housewife, let's say, and she has a very special friend hidden in her apartment. And I will leave it at that. But if you like things like Tetsuo, the Iron Man, or any kind of Japanese sort of cyberpunk horror, then I think you'll enjoy that one, definitely. If you like anything that's very, very weird. And also, I should actually, another shout out to another horror one would be Piglet's Tail this year. I think we were all universal in our praise for that animation that we've got this year. It's a short. It's around 25 minutes, I think, from memory. But yeah, that goes in some unexpected directions from where it starts off.
That was a funny one because it is an animation, and while I'm doing these things, like I'm always like I've got 3 young girls, so I'm always trying to like find new things to watch with them, and I'm sitting there thinking, oh, this is a really cool animation. I could watch this. No, I can't watch this with the girls.
The first 18 minutes would be perfectly suitable for your daughters, but the last 2 would not be.
It was really fun for me because while none of you could see each other's comments, I could see everything, and I'm watching, and it was as if you were all quoting from the same book. Oh my god, that's dark, and someone wrote grim in the grimmest way possible. And yeah, you look at that beautiful animation. How the hell did that happen?
Yeah. There was a few moments sort of on the way, and they dropped in a few little hints, and I just thought, no, did I? No, surely no. I don't think that's what they're not going to go there with this. And then another 5 minutes would pass, and I'd sort of forget about it. And then when you get to the end, you're like, oh shit, yeah, they've been sowing that seed from the beginning. And I was right to be suspicious.
So Spencer, I know for the most part, especially when we're doing the panel and the judging and the selection and everything, you stay pretty neutral, to be fair, until you absolutely have to. What have you seen in the horror festival that you are really looking forward to people checking out?
I have to immediately put my flag up for Parker. And we always have wrestling matches over Parker because there are some issues with the focus, but I feel that the story is just really good, and that end scene just magical. I really loved For Sale this year. And I loved all the subtle hints laced all through the story. And like even like you have to be looking in places you don't normally look. You need to pay attention to what's in the background to get the story before you get to the kill. So loved that, really loved that. Peter and I both really enjoyed a particular part of Leash, which is
a shout out to Leash, because 2 of us really loved Leash, and I think the other 2 really hated it. It was a real divisive one. I think it's very much on your taste. It's very much what you're sort of into.
And yeah, there's for me, there was a particular sound at a point in the film, and I'm watching it at home with my cinema sound, and I'm just like, oh my fucking god, that's scary. And actually, how often, I mean, Peter, how often does that happen? That you watch a film and it unsettles you? And the hairs on the back of my neck proper went up. And I'm just like, wow, this is fantastic.
I'm really looking forward to seeing that in the cinema at the weekend. I'm really looking forward to seeing that with the cinema sound.
And obviously, I loved Extraneous Matter. That was right up my alley. As well as obviously up the same alley as everyone that was in it. And,
very much
wow. So. Talk about burying the lead.
He went there.
Yeah, and obviously there's greatness all throughout the festival, and I have to say that because we've selected these films. But we've got films that are shot with nothing and achieve so much, and then we've got films that have very large budget, and they're like a step further in their career, and they're focusing on, you know, those bigger aspects of filmmaking. You know, I've got to give a shout out to the what I always call them, the ice cream on the beach guys.
Yeah.
Who knocked together a short film on an iPhone down the allotment.
Remind us of the title of that film.
Oh, I really can't remember, but I know it had something to do with an allotment.
Yeah, something.
Ice cream in the allotment.
Yeah. So for those of you that don't know, the allotment is actually going to be a segment in a film called Mosaic, which is an anthology that is being put together and has some great names And when I say great names, I'm not talking like the classic big names. I'm talking about great names in UK horror indie scene, who just turn up in these little cameos. But all these people, they're off making their own films, but they've all kind of come together in a show of camaraderie for UK filmmakers. Let's all just get together and let's give ourselves to these films. Tony Marden, mentioned this guy. He's the lead in The Allotment. He's doing something very, very similar, Witches in the Sand, but he's also including some of the greats. Eileen Dietz, for example, who you can see, and a whole host of other guys, Giovanni Lombardo Radic, and, you know, all these people, just amazing. And I really like that when all these people get together and they make something beautiful. And even if the story, you know, doesn't add up to everyone's wants or desires, it's just that camaraderie of people getting together that I really love.
It's one of the things that I've loved about doing the podcasting for the last 5 or 6 years is that the British independent scene does seem to be a lot like that. You do get the odd person that very much isn't like that, but for the most part. So it's always cool to hear that there's new projects coming through like that, and I'm going to have to keep an eye out for that one, Spencer. Or you could always just slip me a cheeky link.
I will do.
So Spencer, tell me, what does a socially distant film festival look like?
I mean, we're quite lucky because things are slightly different now. So what we had to do is we had to do a what we call a density test in the cinema to figure out the amount of people that you could fit in there. And then how we're going to do that is we're going to put people in rows, but we're going to put, you know, like we'll say to someone, okay, we're going to sit you on the end of this row. Is that okay? Put them. If it's not okay, we'll move them further down. But the idea being is you only have people on the ends of rows. But not every row. We're going to mix that up a little tiny bit. So obviously the amount of people that we have this year is going to be less, but with a touch of luck, by the time we do the Romford Film Festival at the end of the month, those limitations may have listed a few days earlier. The other thing being is we're only going to be doing one in-screen Q&A. All the rest of them are going to be done in our little makeshift studio upstairs, as they were for last year's film festival. But we're going to make sure we position everyone at a good distance for that first Q&A. And that is for VHS Forever, Once Upon a Time in Camden, which is obviously a story around a store that operated very, very close to the Camden Bridge. And yeah, but as I say, other than that, there's going to be lots of Q&As, but they're going to be done in the same way as last year, taking people out the screens, taking them upstairs, doing the interview, putting them out by YouTube, Facebook, etc. the day after. Yeah, we want everyone to have a really good time. We've got some fun and games up there, and our good friend Pazuzu here is going to pay a special visit, because what we're actually going to do is we're going to be having a competition for Pazuzu. Not this one, but another one. And the reason why I say not this one is because the wonderful Eileen Dietz will actually sign it for you. So she will be giving one of these up to a member of our audience that answers a question correctly. And she will then send it to you, signed directly to the winner. So we've got that. We've got a couple of photo opportunities that are going to happen. Interesting backdrop, some interesting awards, and fingers crossed, should the delivery arrive tomorrow, some nice branded T-shirts.
Ooh, I like the sound of that.
And I don't know, I mean, you may have seen earlier on, I put a post up on Facebook and etc. with the postcards. And then on Instagram, I put a post up with the bad candies. So there's some badges, there's some posters, some glow stuff, some DVDs, and Blu-rays. Yeah, just a little bit of fun, but the main part is we want to give people a really uplifting 2 days in a cinema, having a lovely time, and just kicking the shit out of what's happening, and just enjoying being together for the first time in a long time.
I have to say I'm massively excited for you guys because obviously you'll have probably been in a cinema recently anyway, but I was in Edinburgh on Wednesday and I went to the cinema with the girls, and that was the first time I'd been in a cinema for 18 months, and it was awesome.
I think we will, because I think I was counting earlier, we got 62 shorts and 10 features to pack into 2 days, so yeah, there's going to be a lot of bums on seats in the cinema, which is brilliant.
That is a bit mental, to be fair.
We'd organise such a thing.
And I know, Peter, you said that you can't wait to see Leisha on the big screen because obviously that massive sound effect, but what are you most looking forward to seeing on the big screen?
Probably one of the classics that Spencer's brought into the programme, because it's one I've not seen, and we're not talking about Manos again, we're talking about A Messiah of Evil, because I've never seen it. So I'm really looking forward to taking that in. Yeah.
Nice.
I am thrilled to bits to have been given permission to show this, because we are actually the very first place in the world to see this newly restored version. So, you know, big up for Romford.
Yeah.
And just such an adrenaline-filled film with some really disturbing scenes and some really disturbing characters, all wrapped up in an LSD-induced coma, for want of a better word. But I always find it really unsettling. I watched it for the very first time about 10 years ago. There used to be an app called American Horrors, and I watched it on there. It was in the middle of the night, and I remember even on my phone seeing the power and thinking, oh my goodness, this film is so, like, it gets you right here. And why haven't I seen this before? Why aren't people talking about this film? It's amazing.
So, guys, what we're going to do is we're going to take a quick little break while we wait for the directors of Bad Candy to show up, and we will have a little chat with them about their movie. I personally can't wait for this weekend to happen for you guys. Obviously, I'll still be up here, but I'm going to be watching with a close eye on all of the social media. And I hope everyone just turns up and you're inundated with people. Obviously, not too many people because, you know, social distance and whatnot. It's still a thing, unfortunately. But hopefully the whole thing goes amazingly. We will be back in 2 minutes. The people from Bad Candy.
Welcome back, kids, to the Psychotronic FM Halloween show. We continue down this dark and dusty road on the night when the space between the living and the dead is at its thinnest. When devils and demons walk amongst us. When the skeletons in your closet come looking to play.
You guys ready for tonight?
What do you think you're doing?
Nothing.
Remember what happened last year?
This is Chili Billy on 66.6 FM.
I got the really good candy.
Creepy Abby. Your only friends are dead.
Morning! It's Halloween.
So yeah, that was an awesome little coffee break, guys. We'll just play off the fakeness just like that. We are now joined by director of Bad Candy, Scott Hansen. This movie is going to be showing at the Horror Festival, as we spoke about a little bit earlier in the show. How are you tonight, Scott?
Doing great.
Fresh from working with Morgan Freeman, I hear.
Yeah. Working with Oprah today. It was kind of cool. And
look at you.
From do you remember Lewis from Iron Eagle? Like,
yeah.
Yeah, Lewis and Morgan Freeman, and just some interviews. It was kind of cool for Apple Plus show.
Cool.
Nice.
Just my side world, my side work, I guess. And then movies is my goal one day, full time.
I was going to say, obviously, that pales in comparison to being shown at the horror festival this weekend.
I'm like super. I do a lot of camera up and DP, directing, you name it. But like everybody knows me as that horror guy on the side, making these weird movies, and that's kind of what I look for. But my day job is all of that professional stuff.
Oh yeah, you've got to have your day job.
Yeah. So, but if I can make killing movies and just weird Halloween things all the time, that's the goal. The goal.
Definitely. So we've already spoken a little bit about Bad Candy tonight and some of our favorite parts of the movie and everything, but what we didn't really talk about too much about was what the film really truly is. In your eyes and in your words, what is Bad Candy about?
Man, Bad Candy is just a love letter to some of my favorite films, like anything from Tales from the Crypt, Gremlins, growing up with Trick or Treat, one of my favorite movies of all time. It's just, with Bad Candy, we just figured there's not enough Halloween movies. We love Hocus Pocus, we love all the Tim Burton classics. Trick or Treat came out like 14 years ago, and there's a Halloween movie every few years, but that's it. And I was just like, how fun would it be to make a movie about one fucked up street on Halloween with all these people intersecting, kind of like a Love Actually meets Halloween, and that weird mix where it's like all these people are connected, but they don't really know it, but they're all like within a mile of each other in this small town. And that's kind of what we went off. And, we're huge fans of like Crash, Love Actually. We try to stay away from the anthology vibe and be more like a linear movie, like there's a beginning and end and everything connects. But, it's going to get grouped in as an anthology, but we tried to make it like a regular movie, like, episodic 4 or 5 parts where everything flows creatively and there's a good flow, and there's a beginning, middle, and end and a twist at the end. And that's kind of how we approached it, to be honest.
I think the anthology side of it, I think it does kind of get lumped in that because it has kind of that neon sort of 80s vibe sort of going over the top of it. And of course, what was it? Scary Movies to Tell in the Dark came out a year or so ago. So obviously people are going to lump that in, but I love the analogy of the Love Actually of horror. I really like that. Yeah,
it's one of my favorite movies. I love that movie. And, I love all movies, but it's like, you just got to be inspired by that. And obviously Trick or Treat, I know like the back of my hand. And I love the one you just referenced, the Alex Olov. I can't remember how to pronounce his name. He's awesome. Troll Hunter. I love Troll Hunter. You can't, awesome movie. Yeah, you can't get enough of Troll Hunter. But he had like $15-20 million, and we did Bad Candy on $120,000. So it just shows like how things are moving. We didn't have a studio; it was all personally funded, and just from us doing gigs. We live in Atlanta, Georgia, so we work on movies, save money, and we shot this on the weekends. It's truly an indie movie to that degree, like straight up. Hey, let's shoot Saturday. Hey, let's shoot next Saturday and Sunday, and see what we can get. And then, but I used every connection I had. I owned some cameras, some gear, but to do what you saw for $120,000 is just like bonkers. Like, now if I would have had 15 million, holy shit, I can't even imagine. Like, so and when I tell you who we're trying to get for the sequel, we can talk about that later. You'll see why I'm trying to raise some more money. But we are trying to do a sequel right now.
I said earlier on before you joined us, those opening 10 minutes of your film, the only thing that I can possibly compare it to is Trick or Treat. So amazing that you've brought that up straight off the bat, because to me it feels like this is like a direct relation to Trick or Treat. So I think that's fantastic. And
yeah, I love Trick or Treat.
In some ways, having watched both films relatively recently, I almost mix up elements of the story between the two.
Take that all day.
No, I mean, it's fantastic. And, you know, a great film, great tribute, an amazing opening sequence to the film that really, you know, really struck a chord with me, and it looks absolutely stunning on a big screen.
Yeah, thank you.
You said that you've raised all the money yourself.
Yep.
How long did it take you to put the film together? And then was it very much kind of like piecemeal, where you might have had 3 or 4 months between getting your next bit done, or?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think we took 18 months to film, like a 30-day shoot, because it was literally like my day job is like, if you see my site, I do a ton of music videos for big metal bands, rock bands, and then I'll do documentary stuff. So I'm like doing these Slipknot and, you know, like As I Dying metal videos and all these bands, and I'm literally saving money to like, oh, I'll do it for this and save budget to throw towards the movie, because nobody wanted to fund it. It was, you know, it was very hard. This is my 3rd feature, and to get movies funded in general, I just, you know, it's always like you're like a used car salesman trying to pitch the world to somebody. And I was just like, we did have one investor, but he just helped out a little bit. But it was still like me and Desiree, we just funded it ourselves. And she works for Food Network and Netflix as a production manager. So she was just like, she'd go do her show and save money and be like, hey, we have like $7,000 saved for this shoot. Let's do it. We can do it. And we would pick the actors off and you know, set everybody up. And I think we cast it for like 6-7 months. I would say overall it was about 2 years worth of work to finish the movie, but definitely probably about 28 days spread out over 16 months with, you know, post production. But just little by little, inch by inch, and you know, even the big creature, like there's a giant bat creature in the movie, which is like my favorite part, costume wise. But like that guy, Wayne Anderson, if you look him up, he did the damn Predator suit on the Predator years ago. He did Jurassic World, and I literally like, my background is special effects, so I have like, anytime I do a movie, it's like I give the special effects guys all the time they need, all the money they need that I can raise or get to them. But I always go way over the top as much as I can, just because I relate to that world. But pulling Wayne is like, he's like the Rob Bottin. You know, Rob Bottin did The Thing in 1981. You know, and tons of epic 80s movies. But Wayne is like that guy now, and he literally. It was an email. I emailed him. It was like, hey, I know you're on Avatar 2 with James Cameron in New Zealand. I got this tiny, low-budget movie that we can't afford you, but we need this giant bat creature. And he's like, hey, I'm working on Kate Winslet's Avatar. I have, you know, I'm free in 2 months. And so we booked him a flight from freaking New Zealand, from Wada, to fly in to do this giant bat creature, which he had already pre-made. And yeah, it was amazing. Like, pulling somebody like that stature onto a $120,000 movie is like unheard of and just lucky. And it shows, and it's just, you know, it's just a crazy, that's amazing how but it took a lot of work, you know, and we got kind of lucky.
Sorry.
It's definitely a question that I had for you. Obviously, like, the movie is lower budget, and you're saying 120K, which is mental. But I said to the boys before when we were talking, the VFX and the practical effects in this movie are just stunning. It's, for what you've made it on, just unbelievable. So it's great that you brought that up as well.
Yeah, I'm from that world, and we try to give, even the puppetry. We had Shane Morton, who did Mandy with Nicolas Cage. He did the Cheddar Goblin, and he was our little creature in the beginning. The girl, she has a power. Anything she draws comes alive in the scenes, and she makes this little monster. And Shane Morton from Screen Lab made that for us. And he was in the green screen suits with the puppetry and making it move and walk and turn, you know, and scratch at the door. But like, it was all green screen, you know, and he did it there and just keyed it out. And, tried to make the movements as best as we could. But it's kind of a shout out to Gizmo, I guess, but he did the Cheddar Goblin, so he was already really familiar with puppetry, so it was kind of cool to bring him in. But he's a local, so that was easier than getting Wayne.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I think I was going to talk about some of the actors you've got in this. Obviously, Corey Taylor and Zach Galligan.
Yeah.
I think you mentioned that you work on the Slipknot videos, so that's probably how you approached Corey, I'm guessing. I mean, you can correct me. But how did you get Zach for this film?
Yeah, it was crazy. And rest in peace to Sid Haig. We actually had Sid Haig blocked.
Oh man!
And that was going to be right before Rob Zombie did 3 from Hell. We had the script sent to his agent, and I was like, "Yeah, we got Sid. He's going to be the perfect guy." And I love Zach. Zach did a great job. He did, but he was totally our fill-in, and he knew that, but he was like, "Hey, I'll fill in because I know you almost had Sid, and Sid died." But Sid was our original. Even in the concept art, we had Sid. Well, we had Bruce Campbell and then Sid. So, but Bruce Campbell was he wanted our entire budget for like a couple of days. So, that's who we're trying to get for the sequel right now. So we're talking to Bruce about a potential sequel, and then. But yeah, I went back to Corey. I reached out to Corey's people, and I was like, "Hey, I know you've done some acting stuff, and we just need you to be yourself and be a DJ, and you're a metal singer. So how this shouldn't be too hard for you." And he was all about it. He read the script, and he was like, "Yeah, I'm fucking in. As long as I get to keep the Chili Billy sign." So I was like, "Yeah." We sent that to him, and it's in his house, and he was like. I was like, we'll burn it down anyways. If we do a sequel, we'll make a giant sign, like a whole background or something. But yeah, and then Zach was amazing. Zach had recently moved to Atlanta. We weren't sure if he would do it. I hadn't seen Zach in anything in years. I think the last movie I saw was like Waxwork, or I just haven't. He's done a lot of other things, some TV, and I was like, hey man, like we'd love to have you as this guy, and he looks great for being 57. He looks amazing, and we reached out to him, and he was actually a Slipknot fan, which is I think how we got him. So that was kind of funny. But yeah, he came out, and but yeah, we had Sid. We were like this close, and he got really sick, and he passed away on us, and it was really unfortunate. But I can't imagine that. You can only imagine what that would have been like with Sid. So I don't know, but.
I think the two DJs are absolutely brilliant together, but man, Sid Haig, that would have been.
He just had it. It was totally like a House of 1,000 Corpses, just wild, funny, and fucking don't give a shit. That's Sid all day, and just I can't imagine. So, but yeah, rest in peace, Sid Haig. But I think we made out with what we had. They were definitely backups. But you kind of work with what you can. And my goal is just to make a good movie A to B, and like Halloween to the core, because I mean we're the weird people in the neighborhood who put out 150 pumpkins and like every Halloween decoration you can imagine, and people drive past our house and they're like, "Oh, there's the Satanists again," and I don't know. These guys with the crazy power bill and all the Halloween decorations. That's us. That's me and Desiree. So yeah, we're pretty normal, but we love weird shit.
Oh yeah, you have to. You've got to have your thing, haven't you?
But yeah, it's cool. It's fun.
In terms of the stories, obviously it's being lumped into the anthology side of thing, and it is a series of stories that you're being told in a linear fashion. But where did these stories come from? Were they completely original that you guys made up yourselves, or was it things you'd heard over the years and sort of retconned them into your movie, or where did the concept actually come from?
Yeah, it's just me and Desiree bouncing stories off. We almost had another actor named Dee Wallace. Almost
Nice.
had Dee. It was so close. She was supposed to be in the ending story, but we just timing wise, she was on another movie, and I tried my best, but I'm going to try to get her in the sequel because I love Dee, and I've worked with her before on other stuff, but yeah, all the stories are original. We just we were just like, there's a few other stories we couldn't afford to tell yet that we're probably going to save for the sequel, but we just wanted to center it around like a Halloween town kind of vibe, this weird town called New Salem. You know, it's out in the middle of wherever, and it's just like a lot of magical stuff and weird shit happens, and we try to get it like a modern spin, you know, very hocus pocus vibe. And but yeah, everything's original. Because I've seen other stories with like radio hosts, and you know, you got like the Tales from the Crypt or like, you know, that kind of stuff, a freak show. But I've never seen stories that make the host part of the movie. And in this movie, you know, when you get to the third act, you're like, oh wait, these you know, not to spoil anything, but you kind of realize these guys are connected to the story when you think you're watching just what they're telling. And we kind of connect in a fun little way, just to kind of, and that's how we try to get past the anthology vibe, where it's like it's a linear movie, but we're gonna get grouped in the anthology. There's no way around it. You know, just how it goes. But
I think you should just lean into it.
Whatever, you know, bring it on. But we, you know, I just don't want people to be like, oh, it's a Blumhouse anthology. Yeah. It's all like night vision, running around with a camera. It's like cinematic. It's, you know, it's lit. You know, Georgia weather in Atlanta is crazy. Like that one night with the bat creature, I think we had like 5 inches of rain that turned into sleet and snow. And me with these Pumpkinhead guys and women, you know, I was just like, you know, sometimes I try to do funny things to get the best acting out of actors. And I was like, they were in the studio and I was like, hey guys, it's pushing 33, 34 degrees. You guys can be in your underwear and pumpkins on your head running around from this giant creature, which nobody had seen at the point. They just heard there was a creature coming. And I just, you know, I kept everybody away from Wayne. And I got everybody ready, and I was like, all right, you're not going to have to do much acting. You're just going to react. It's cold as fuck. It's raining, and the snow is coming in a few hours, and we had snow come too. And so, but like tying everybody up and having the rain come and all that, and then they see the creature. We had a couple people just like the reactions were golden, like just so, yeah, they hadn't seen it, and it's just like reacting is. The wingspan, you know, the wings pop out 18 feet, you know, and it's just like, it was all like in camera. It wasn't visual effects, like, you know, and I just wanted them to get that reaction on set. And I think that, you know, these guys were running for their lives. It's kind of funny when you see the sequence, but nobody expected to see that giant back creature.
Just out of interest, how long did that scene take? Because you know, there's such complexity in that scene.
Yeah. We only had 2 days. I can only afford Wayne for 2 days. I'll be honest. That's all I could get him for. So we had 2 nights. It's just like we went through a lot of different actors. And the biggest thing is making sure we had to make foam pumpkins because we tried real ones and they just kept falling off and smelled like terrible. And you could not breathe out of them that well. We tried it. I was a test dummy for that. Yeah, so we went foam pumpkins. But yeah, 2 nights we filmed everything in that scene with just a monster. It definitely took 2 nights. But it was a lot of fun doing that and having somebody coming off Avatar 2, 3, 4, and 7. I don't know how many damn avatars there are, but he's working on all of them. And he was just telling us James Cameron stories. And I'm a huge fan of Wada. I've shot New Zealand a couple times. So, you know, just kind of working with people who are connected. I mean, James Cameron is like, you know, Aliens is the best movie for me. That's one of my favorite movies of all time. And Terminator 2, you can't beat any of that. Titanic's incredible. So anybody coming off of his team, I was like, can we steal you for 2 days? Is that cool? He was excited because, you know, like, and it's interesting here in his point of view, somebody that big who's done Jurassic World with Chris Pratt, done Avatar, and they come to this tiny low budget movie. He was just like, and this was amazing to us. He was like, you know, I work with all these big special effects companies, but coming to your movie, you guys treated me incredible. I had a lot of free reign. I didn't have producers yelling at me. I didn't have like this crazy shit that I have to deal with on these $1 million movies, and he was just interesting hearing his perspective coming to the, you know, tiny low budget movie that was super professional, because we all work in the industry, but we just didn't have the budget. You know, he probably spends 120 grand on one day, you know, for crafty or whatever, you know, I don't know. So, but Wayne had a great time, you know, and it was really awesome to work with him.
That's so cool.
I think it's great testament to that thing that you can approach somebody, and providing you approach them in the right way,
yep,
you more often than not actually get the right reactions, don't you? And I think what you've done here is testament to that you've gone out, you've pretty much approached everybody and pretty much got everybody that you've gone to, but you've gone about it in a nice way.
Yep.
And you've managed to pull together this thing, because at the end of the day, nobody knows where the next Halloween's coming from, do they? You know, and that's what I think is fantastic. You know, you ask the right questions, you get the right people, you pull it all together. Do you have any guidance for budding filmmakers to encourage them to kind of follow their dreams, or particular ways that you went about talking and approaching people?
Yeah, I mean, I get asked that all the time, and I'm not successful yet. I'm still climbing up the ladder, but I appreciate it. But I just tell everybody to, you know, if you get in the movie business, it's a long, hard road, and you're going to be broke for a long time. But, you know, if you see your vision and you want to stick with it, I mean, consistency and just staying and trying to be, you know, you're not going to be the next James Cameron. You can't, you just got to be yourself. You know, you got to stay true to yourself and bring your own vision. And that's how I was with Bad Candy. I was like, I don't have a budget. I can't get legit investors, you know, and, you know, here a damn pandemic hits and the world goes under, you know, it just topples everything. But I would just tell people to be consistent and work your ass off. And literally my day job is working with, you know, documentaries, music videos and stuff. And I would just save as much as I could, and just keep saving and just do little by little. And luckily Bad Candy has led to a couple other big, I have a sci-fi movie coming up in August. That's like my biggest budget ever. And that's kind of off Bad Candy, but that one's called Hoax Fall, and it's a sci-fi horror. So I'm really looking forward to that. Because we got Michael Biehn. We're talking to Michael Biehn right now.
Nice.
And I love Michael Biehn, and I've, you know, only met him at cons, and I was like, "Hey, man, we can afford you. What's up?" So, you know, I just, yeah, I just, you know, you just got to work hard, and I can't tell you, I've been doing this for 12 years, you know, and it's not easy. It's really not easy at all. And with Bad Candy, you know, we sold the movie to Epic Pictures. We did Terrifier. So they're going to give us a pretty good push. And Terrifier became, you know, the next Jason. Yeah. And I love Terrifier, and I was a fan of that because we were shooting that right as that came out. And I was just like, cool, we're on the same, you know, distributor. And we have a clown. Our clown is more, you know, we're not killing people. We're not murdering kids, but our clown is like the good version. You know, he's anti-hero. So, you know, I thought that was more fun for us just because it works better for our story. But and we got a 300 theater release, which is insane.
Wow.
The budget, and well, that's in the USA.
Yeah.
Like 300 drive-in movie theaters. So in mid-September, we're going up against Candyman, which is amazing because that's Jordan Peele. And then we go up against Halloween Kills the next week. So we're going to get our asses handed to us, definitely. But I mean, just to be in that world, like, hey, you're going to be a Halloween movie going up against probably the best Halloween series of all time, Halloween, with Jamie Lee Curtis. And then we're going against Jordan Peele, who's like a horror icon right now with, you know, Get Out. And I think he just produced Candyman. So this we're the little movie that could going up against these big movies. And if we do well the first week, they would extend us. They plan to extend us. So I have no idea what's going to happen. I'm just going to keep pushing it daily. And we've won a bunch of film festivals. You know, we've won, I think, a lot. And, you know, the film festival world, I would tell people you got to do the film festivals, you know, and I love going to them. And unfortunately with the pandemic, I come to y'all's, but I'm always there, which kills me. I don't even know if you guys are open over there, but I don't think so yet, right? Not open.
We kind of open. Our cinemas are open, obviously. Oh, cool. And we are one of the first film festivals to be running after lockdown has lifted. So yeah, it's kind of moving in the right direction.
That's good.
Fingers crossed and touch wood. All the social distancing stuff could end on the 21st of June.
Yeah.
So fingers crossed, either next year or the year after, we can actually get you into sunny Romford with whatever your next next film is.
Yeah, I'm excited. Yeah, we're talking to Bruce Campbell right now, so he said no at first, now I came back and I'm trying to get him for the sequel. So he'd be awesome.
Is that not the moment where like you just turn around and say, you said no the first time, so we ain't gonna ask you the second time, pal?
He actually liked the script. He liked the script, but he didn't know who we were. And his agent was like, you know, he needs this so much per day. And I was like, no, I get it, I understand. And they don't do the 1 day thing for, you know, somebody of his stature. He's do like a week or, you know, 3 days. So I was like, I'm gonna come back to you. Let me get this out, see what happens, and then I'm gonna make a professional offer when I can, and maybe he'll have heard of it by then, or maybe it just crossed his desk, you know, and maybe he'll be easier to get. But he said it was like a no yes. It was like, you can't afford me, come back, and I'm like, I'll be back. We'll get you.
Awesome.
I will not stop until I meet a brick wall. So
I had a technical sort of on-set question. Obviously, there's two of you, yourself and Desiree, wrote and directed this, right?
Yep.
I'm always fascinated. How does it work with two of you directing on set?
This was our first time directing, because she directs a lot too. She does like the bigger stuff. Like she did like a lot of Food Network Netflix shows where I do a lot of more short film, and I've done a few other features. But coming together on this, we just thought it would be interesting to try it. And you know, we're kind of like we actually get married in September, so it's kind of like, you know, we live together. All we do is talk horror, and she's like really weird like me, so it works out great. But like, you know, there's a couple scenes in the movie where, you know, there's a character who has too much LSD basically, and she has fun with a corpse, you know, and
my favorite scene, by the way.
Yeah, that scene was hilarious because, you know, it was just like, you know, it was just to do that, you know, to do it professionally is tough. But when you have a woman on set, it makes it a lot more comfortable for the other woman, you know. And so kind of approaching like that, because Desiree, she's a screenwriter, I'm a screenwriter, but yeah, it was interesting. We had different duties, but I think it made us stronger. And it was definitely a lot less stress because we were footing the bill, so we had full control of all time and when we wanted to shoot. If we didn't want to shoot, we're not going to shoot. Or we couldn't because we didn't have enough money yet. We had to keep saving. But it was a great combo. But yeah, I always see like double directors. And I'm always curious, like, how did that work for you? Or, you know, I've heard good stories and bad stories, but you know, we're pretty equal, and we definitely champion each other. And when we're writing the script, I mean, we had 3 walls in the house. I think all the walls back here, you can see some storyboards in the back over there, where that's the sequel. Yeah, we're already starting the storyboard and concept art. But we had like 3 walls covered, and I draw. And so like I draw the storyboards out, try to get all the sequences down. And he's more good with the logisticals and, oh, how much is that going to cost? How much is this going to cost? So it works out.
Must have been a positive experience. You're still together and getting married. So
yeah, we made it through the movie. So, yeah, made it through deliverables, which, you know, if I was to give any advice to anybody coming up, you know, save all your money for delivery. That's the most expensive part, is putting it in different languages and closed captions, and that's the worst part of filmmaking. But it's, you know, to sell a film properly, you have to know how to do all that. And that's the business side.
So we're going to start wrapping it up now, but the movie Bad Candy is going to be showing at the Romford Horror Festival this weekend. You guys are up for 3 awards for our festival. Which ones is it again, guys?
Best feature, best director or directors, and best cinematography.
Awesome.
Nice.
We're
Nice.
Big
honored that you guys had us because we couldn't do it without you. And I try to tell people like the festivals are everything for people like me, that nobody's heard of us. So I appreciate you guys.
Got to say, you were one of the first films that we actually had submit to our festival. And when you get a film that's as strong as yours, you know that you're on the right track to greatness, so to speak, in terms of the other films that followed along in your wake. So yeah, I mean, it was a real high point, I think, for us in terms of the submissions, at a start like that. So thank you ever so much for submitting it to us.
Oh, I'm excited.
Yeah, because this is the first year of the horror festival as well. So to get something as good as this, yeah, it's a buzz.
I'm excited. I wish I could be there for the next one. So the pandemic will be over, hopefully.
We're going to hold you to this.
I will be.
Your next film.
We don't forget, like Bruce Campbell. We're not going to forget. We're going to ask. We keep asking.
But Scott, this has been absolutely fantastic. I've thoroughly enjoyed this. Bad Candy is a movie that I feel like across the board, we all kind of got on board with, and we've all enjoyed talking about during our little panel discussions. So, yeah, this has been awesome.
Nice, and we're like this close to getting it in the UK theaters. So hopefully that works out too for September, October.
Well, you're in the best UK theater this weekend, so
yes. Yeah, I hope there's some scouts there and they see it and they're like, "Oh, we need to do
this." Is there anything you guys want to add on, or are we okay just to kind of wrap it out there?
I think the only thing I want to ask is someone mentioned to me the significance of a certain comic in your film.
Okay.
In terms of how the story pans out. Obviously, this is something I know nothing about, but I'm told that this is like quite a significant part of your story.
Okay.
First of all, is that true? And secondly, how did you, without revealing too much, how did you come up with that idea to include this specific comic?
The first appearance of Punisher, which this cat right here, this cat destroyed that comic, so I was able to burn it in the scene. The reason why I burned it, I know people are going to be like, why did he burn that Amazing Spider-Man first appearance of Punisher, which I threw in there for any comic book fans like me. But it's because my cat ate it and destroyed the value. Anything paper he destroyed.
So the significance of the comic is more personal than actual story.
Yeah, I had it like in good condition for years, and it just like the plastic came off, and then he destroyed it, and I was like, well, I need something cool for a little throwback to like 20 years ago, and that was appropriate, and I hated burning it, but it was definitely there. He burned it.
Yeah, I mean, the person that brought it up actually said, because if you think about the character, that bears great significance on the film.
Oh, yeah, totally. That's crazy. Somebody picked that up. That's amazing. Yeah, that's awesome. I love that.
So that's one of our judging panel. Bradley, well done. You got that right.
Yes.
Yeah, sort of.
Can't let him have anything, can you?
Right. Okay, then, Scott. Thank you so much for doing this. This has been absolutely brilliant.
Thanks,
and again, we are showing.
Well.
Yeah, definitely. I'm excited to hear about that. Definitely. But yeah, man, we'll just let you go, and we'll just crack on with the rest, and we'll see you again soon, hopefully.
Yeah, excellent. Thanks for your time, and have a good festival this weekend. I'll be there digitally.